8 people murdered in farmhouse. The year is 1912. America is on the cusp of immense change, teetering between rural tradition and modern progress. Iowa, a heartland state of rolling fields and tight-knit communities, embodies this duality. Villisca, a small town nestled in Montgomery County, is a picture of wholesome Americana, church socials, school picnics, and the comforting rhythm of farm life. But beneath the surface of this idyllic scene lurks a darkness, a simmering unease that will soon erupt in a brutal and unforgettable tragedy. It's a place where everyone knows everyone, where doors are rarely locked, and where the most sinister threats often come from within. The story that's about to unfold will shatter Villisca's sense of security, leaving a stain of fear and unanswered questions that linger to this day. The air hangs heavy with the scent of blooming lilacs, masking an almost palpable sense of dread. The Moore family was the bedrock of Villisca. Josiah, a hardworking and respected businessman, and his wife Sarah, a devoted homemaker, were pillars of the community. Their 4 children, Herman, Catherine, Boyd, and Paul, filled their modest 2-story farmhouse with laughter and the everyday chaos of family life. They were a family like any other, striving for the American dream, finding joy in simple pleasures. On the evening of June 9th, 1912, the Moores attended a children's church service, and then, after a late night, walked home with Lena and Anae Stillinger, 2 young girls who often stayed with them as the moon cast long shadows across the quiet streets of Villisca. No one could have foreseen the horror that awaited them within the walls of the Moore farmhouse. A seemingly innocuous detail, the axe that Josiah kept in the shed, always sharpened and ready for use, would soon become an object of unspeakable terror. The morning of June 10th dawned bright and clear, but something was amiss. The Moore family was unusually quiet. No smoke rose from the chimney. No children played in the yard. Neighbors grew concerned when Mary Peckham, a neighbor, knocked on the door and received no answer. She alerted Josiah's brother, Ross Moore. He arrived, tried the door, and found it locked. This was unusual, adding to the growing sense of foreboding. Ross forced the door open and stepped inside, entering a scene of unimaginable carnage. The details that emerged were horrifying. Josiah and Sarah were found bludgeoned to death in their bedroom. The children, including the Stillinger girls, were discovered in their upstairs bedrooms, their small bodies bearing the same brutal wounds. An axe, covered in blood, lay discarded in the master bedroom. The initial shock quickly turned to panic as word spread like wildfire through Villisca. The investigation was immediate and overwhelming. Law enforcement descended upon the small town, transforming it into a chaotic hive of activity. The crime scene was gruesome, the evidence seemingly straightforward. The murder weapon was readily available, the victims clearly targeted. But as investigators began to piece together the events of that night, inconsistencies and unanswered questions began to surface. The windows were covered with cloth, an odd detail. A plate of uneaten food sat on the table, suggesting the killer may have eaten a meal in the house. And the axe itself, while belonging to Josiah Moore, could have been accessed by anyone. Suspects began to emerge, each with their own possible motives and alibis. The once peaceful town of Villisca was now a hotbed of suspicion and paranoia. One of the first suspects was Frank F. Jones, a wealthy and influential state senator. Jones had a complicated history with Josiah Moore. Moore had worked for Jones's Implement Company for years before branching out on his own, opening a rival business. This created a significant amount of tension between the two men, leading some to believe that Jones harbored a deep resentment towards Moore. Rumors swirled that Jones had threatened Moore and that he had hired a hitman to eliminate his competition. However, Jones had a seemingly solid alibi, claiming to be out of town on business at the time of the murders. Despite the rumors and the potential motive, investigators were unable to find concrete evidence linking Jones to the crime. The whispers and accusations, however, continued to haunt him for years to come, forever staining his reputation. Another prime suspect was Reverend Kelly, a traveling minister who had preached in Villisca just days before the murders. Kelly was a charismatic but troubled man with a history of mental instability and alleged sexual deviancy. He had reportedly made strange and unsettling comments during his sermons, leading some to believe that he was mentally unbalanced. Witnesses claimed that Kelly had been acting suspiciously in the days leading up to the murders, and that he had left town abruptly shortly after the crime. Investigators tracked him down and questioned him extensively. While Kelly initially denied any involvement, his story began to unravel under pressure. He eventually confessed to the murders, but then quickly recanted, claiming that he had been coerced by law enforcement. The confession, even if retracted, cast a long shadow of suspicion over Kelly. A third, and perhaps the most intriguing, suspect was a mysterious drifter named William Blackie Mansfield. Mansfield was known to travel from town to town, often working as a handyman or farm laborer. He was described as a strange and unsettling figure, with a history of violence and mental instability. What made Mansfield a particularly compelling suspect was his alleged connection to other unsolved axe murders across the Midwest. Some researchers believe that Mansfield may have been a serial killer, traveling from town to town and preying on unsuspecting families. While there was no direct evidence linking Mansfield to the Villisca murders, his profile and movements matched the timeline of the crime, fueling speculation that he was the true perpetrator. The investigation into the Villisca axe murders was plagued by a number of factors, including the limited forensic technology of the time. Fingerprinting was still in its early stages, and DNA analysis was decades away. This made it incredibly difficult to gather conclusive evidence and link suspects to the crime scene. The crime scene itself was also compromised. In the days following the murders, hundreds of townspeople flocked to the Moore farmhouse, turning it into a macabre tourist attraction. This undoubtedly contaminated the crime scene, making it even more difficult for investigators to gather reliable evidence. The combination of limited technology and a compromised crime scene created a perfect storm of obstacles for law enforcement. Adding to the chaos and confusion was the involvement of multiple law enforcement agencies, each with their own agendas and theories. Local police, county sheriffs, and private detectives all vied for control of the investigation, often working at cross purposes. This lack of coordination and communication further hampered the investigation, leading to missed opportunities and conflicting leads. The case became a political football, with different factions vying for power and influence. The town of Villisca was ripped apart by suspicion and distrust, as neighbors turned against neighbors and rumors spread like wildfire. The initial unity and sense of community that had once defined Villisca were shattered, replaced by a lingering sense of fear and paranoia. As the investigation dragged on, public interest began to wane. The initial outrage and shock slowly gave way to fatigue and resignation. The lack of progress in the case led many to believe that the killer would never be found. Despite the best efforts of law enforcement, the Villisca Axe murders remained unsolved. The case faded from the headlines, becoming a cold case shrouded in mystery and speculation. The Moore farmhouse, once a symbol of family and happiness, became a monument to unspeakable tragedy. The town of Villisca, forever scarred by the events of that night, struggled to move on. The unanswered questions continued to haunt the community, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface of their seemingly idyllic world. However, the story doesn't end there. Years later, a new piece of evidence surfaces. An old journal discovered in the attic of a deceased local historian contains a cryptic entry. More case. Jones knew more than he said. This seemingly innocuous statement reignites the investigation, drawing renewed attention to Frank F. Jones, the wealthy state senator. Investigators re-examine the original evidence, looking for any overlooked details that might connect Jones to the crime. They discover that Jones's alibi, while seemingly solid, was based on the testimony of several individuals who were closely associated with him, raising questions about its validity. A handwriting expert is brought in to analyze anonymous letters sent to the authorities in the years following the murders. And the expert concludes that there is a strong possibility that the letters were written by Jones. Driven by the new evidence, investigators decide to exhume the bodies of the Moore family and conduct modern forensic testing. While DNA analysis proves inconclusive due to the age of the remains, advanced imaging techniques reveal new details about the nature of the wounds. The analysis suggests that the killer may have been left-handed, a detail that was not previously considered. It turns out that Frank Jones was indeed left-handed. This discovery further strengthens the case against Jones, adding another layer of suspicion to his already tarnished reputation. The town of Villisca is once again gripped by the Moore family tragedy. Armed with this new information, investigators decide to confront the remaining members of the Jones family. After years of silence, a relative, burdened by guilt and haunted by the past, comes forward with a shocking revelation. They reveal that Frank Jones had confessed to the murders on his deathbed, claiming that he had been driven to kill Josiah Moore by jealousy and resentment. Jones had suspected that Moore was having an affair with his wife, and that he had been plotting to ruin his business. Consumed by rage and paranoia, Jones had hired a hitman to eliminate Moore and his family. However, the hitman had botched the job, leaving behind a trail of evidence that implicated Jones. The confession, while unverifiable, provides a chilling explanation for the events of that night. But here's the ultimate twist. The relative also reveals a letter. In this letter, hidden away in a safety deposit box, and only to be opened after the last of Jones's direct descendants had passed away, Jones admits he framed Reverend Kelly for the murders. The traveling minister, already unstable, was an easy target. Jones manipulated evidence and whispered rumors to the local authorities, subtly guiding them towards Kelly as the prime suspect. This calculated act not only